sports fans, and welcome to the chat this July 7th, 2026. Hopefully everyone had a safe and happy July 4th. He's Corey Smith, I'm Jeff Cook, and in the center of attention here, our special guest, Mr. Rick Gosselin, distinguished author, sports journalist. Tell us a little about yourself, your journey from Detroit to Dallas and everything in between.
Well, it's a long journey. I'm talking five plus decades. I got out of Michigan State, worked for 2 years in Detroit, and then for the wire service writing news. They knew I wanted to write sports. So I transferred to New York City in 1975, and I covered the Giants in 75, 76. Then I transferred to Kansas City in 1977, and from 77 to 89, I covered the Chiefs and the Royals. I left UPI to go to the Kansas City Star. And then in 1990, the Dallas Morning News hired me to cover the Cowboys. And I spent 2 years covering the Cowboys. And then the next 20 covering the NFL. They told me, go cover the best game of the week that doesn't involve the Cowboys. So I would cover the best game of the week for 20 years.
For the Dallas paper.
For the paper, right. And we had one of the best sports sections in the country. And then I became a columnist for my last 6 years, writing all sports.
And a couple of books.
A couple of books. Yeah, I wrote a book about my high school back in 2009. Small Catholic school, east side of Detroit, won five city titles, 4 state titles, and the two coaches during that run went on to win 6 Super Bowl rings, George Perlis and Tom Boyster, who became the personnel director of the New York Giants. And my latest book came out last November, the 1960s era Kansas City Chiefs. The team that history forgot is a title. And it's all from interviews I did 30 and 40 years ago when I was covering the Chiefs. Lamar Hunt, Otis Taylor, Len Dawson, Buck Buchanan, Bobby Bell. It was a fun book. Hank Stram.
I have something. Yeah, I want to ask you something about Hank Stram.
Fun book to write. But yeah, all the quotes in the book are from 30 and 40 years ago. Just how the Chiefs basically became the face of the AFL. They played in the first Super Bowl. They won the last AFL game. And it's 75% of the book leads up to the first Super Bowl, the game with the Packers. And the last quarter of the book was the 3-game revenge tour. They beat 3 NFC teams. Hank Stram was really stung by that defeat. So the next year, they started playing exhibition games, AFL, NFL. And the first NFL team that they gave the Chiefs after the Super Bowl was the Chicago Bears. And the Bears came into Kansas City, and the Chiefs won 66-24. Completely run up the score, and the reason the score was so low, the Chiefs missed a 2-point conversion try in the last minute. The second game of the revenge tour is when they beat the Vikings in Super Bowl IV. And the third game of the revenge tour, the Chiefs started in Dallas as the Texans. They went head-to-head with the Cowboys for 3 years, and neither one was making any money. They couldn't. They were drawing crowds of 9,000 and 10,000. So Lamar said, I can't make it in this town. So he's from Dallas, by the way. He took the team to Kansas City. The Chiefs had just won, or the Texans had just won the AFL title, and the Cowboys were terrible. And when they told the Texans we got to move to Kansas City, they were upset. They said, we're the better team. We draw better. Why do we have to go? All the while, they wanted to play the Cowboys. They said, let's play the Cowboys in a loser leave town game. But they never played them until finally in 1970, in the preseason, they scheduled a game with the Cowboys and the Chiefs. And it was the only time in Cowboys history that they had ever been shut out in the Cotton Bowl. Chiefs won 10-0.
Preseason, of course, the Cowboys, I mean, I guess did preseason games mean more in those days?
Well,
It did for them.
No, it meant more for everybody. Back then, I grew up in the 60s watching football, and we used to go see the Lions play the Browns because back then the starters didn't sit. You'd see Jim Brown for 3.5 quarters in a preseason. So back then, teams actually tried to win the preseason games. Vince Lombardi was, I think, 42-8 in his career in the preseason. Hank Stram had a great record. So yeah, that game against the Cowboys in 1970 was like a regular season game.
Did you watch the Heidi game?
I watched most of it. Didn't see the end though.
Well, got cut away. Right, that's a good trivia question there.
Got that?
Oh, yep.
Okay.
He knows about that, but I know he didn't see it, witness it, experience it live like we did. Something about Hank Stram. There's a famous clip where he's on the sideline. He was always wearing a coat and tie, right? And says something like, "We got to matriculate down the field." Do you remember? Am I making that up or?
No, that was Super Bowl IV. And it's the first time any coach, any player had ever been wired for a game. And they offered it to Bud Grant. He didn't want it.
No.
And Hank said he'd do it.
How he swears a lot, you know.
Yeah. Hank said he would do it, but what's in it for the boys? He wanted a little bit of cash for it. So they paid him actually to do that. And he was putting on a show, and the players knew he was putting on a show.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, the Chiefs never thought they were going to lose that game. They were the underdog, but they had played the Vikings in the preseason in 1968, the year before, in Minnesota, and they won. And again, back then, you pretty much played to win those games. And the Chiefs realized they were bigger, stronger, faster, and younger than the Vikings. So they were very confident going into that game. And when they got up 10-0 on the sideline, they said, "That's it. They're not going to come back. They can't come back against this defense." And interestingly enough, that defense had 6 Hall of Famers. Only 2 defenses in history have ever had 6 Hall of Famers: the '60s Packers in the early part of the decade, and the Chiefs. Great defense. But yeah, Hank was putting on a show. That Mike.
Yeah. So, Corey, any questions that come to mind for you?
Well, I guess right now is what do you miss from like the 60s and the 70s that's not there in football right now?
Defense. They've outlawed defense.
It's more like the offensive game, the
Oh,
new
it's all
rules
offense.
and everything like that
You
is
can't-
tailored towards offense.
If you watch clips of the 60s and 70s of the hits on the quarterback with the helmets flying off and the quarterback's just getting brutalized, that is, you can no longer hit quarterbacks. You can't hit receivers going across the middle. Offensive linemen can hold. They've outlawed defense, and that's what I miss. It's not a competitive game. Back then, the receivers had to fight for every inch of space in their pass routes. The defensive back, the Mel Bounce, these guys were 6'2", 6'3".
And they would line up right across the line from
Right,
him.
right, and they got their
Bump and run.
hands on them, bump on run, knocking them around. And now, because you can't touch them, you're seeing all the receivers are getting bigger. We're seeing 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" receivers, but the cornerbacks aren't getting any bigger. They're still 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. So it's a physical mismatch, and the defense can't touch those guys. So it's a game of pitch and catch, and that's the biggest flaw. All these passing numbers are inflated.
Yes.
You look at all the 5,000-yard seasons. Johnny Unitas in this era, Joe Namath in this era would be putting up numbers that would just blow your mind because, again, you can't hit the quarterback, can't hit the receivers, and the great quarterbacks would find a way. You guys were talking about the All-Star game earlier.
Yeah. All-Star snubs. It was one of the topics. Go ahead.
My first professional game I covered as a journalist was the 1971 All-Star game. I was working at the student paper from Michigan State.
Pete Rose, Ray Fosse? No, that wasn't that year, okay.
Better.
Okay.
So on a lark, I applied for a student credential, and they gave it to me. And that's the game, Reggie Jackson at the Light Tower, and they had all the home runs. Hank Aaron, Roberto Clemente, Reggie Jackson, Harmon Killeby, like 6 or 7 Hall of Famers hit home runs. American League won the game. But that was the very first game I covered professionally. It's been all downhill from baseball. Now you can't top that night.
No. I mean, just, the list of guys that you just said, Hall of Famers then too, just.
Well, and we have a Hall of Famer right here
Absolutely.
with us.
Absolutely.
You're in Canton, right?
Yes.
You got a jacket? Did they give you a jacket?
No, I
Okay.
got a plaque. I got a plaque on the wall. Yeah, I got.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's
Can't take that away.
no. It was a nice honor, a good close of my career. I got it in 2004, so I was still writing when I received the award. But nice honor, and I got a free pass. Anytime I want to go back to the Hall of Fame, I can walk in the door with my card.
That's nice. So what's going on with the Cowboys in the offseason? I mean, I guess practice starts not too far from now.
They think they're back.
Yeah.
They think they're going to the Super Bowl, but then they think that every year.
The defense has been the
That's been the
Achilles heel.
problem. That's been the problem. Offense, it's all there on offense. And I'm not sure they'll ever get there with Dak Prescott. I've got my reservations about Dak. But if they can't fix the defense, then, again, they're not going to be a playoff team. But they've
Trading
changed.
Micah Parsons a mistake?
Yeah, the second most.
He's from Harrisburg, that's why.
The second most important player on a football field is the edge rusher.
Yeah.
Quarterback and the edge rusher, the guy that wins the game and the guy that can prevent him to win the game. So anytime you trade away an edge rusher, that's given up a lot. And then you watched Myles Garrett, the defensive MVP, the best pass rusher in football, goes to the Rams.
Yeah.
Now they got the league MVP and the defensive MVP, and they are hands down the favorite to win. The NFC is going to be interesting with the Eagles. Keep an eye on the Lions. Last year, 2 teams played last place schedules. And every year a team goes from worst to first because it's an easier schedule. You're playing other fourth place teams. The Bears and the Patriots last year both played last place schedules. This year the Lions have the last place schedule. And that is a good team that had some injury problems last year. And I expect the Lions to be right back. Over in the AFC, I thought the Chiefs getting Kenneth Walker was a great move. They've been asking Patrick Mahomes to carry the whole load for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah.
You can't. He got hurt last year. You can't put it all on one guy. Now they've got a running back, and they
Super Bowl MVP.
Super
correct?
Bowl MVP, and now they got a running back. Mahomes can turn around and hand the ball off and let somebody else win the game. He'll still pass for 5,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, but having Walker will kind of slow down the pass rush and also minimize the number of hits that Mahomes does take.
Now, do you think Mahomes is going to be able to play week 1, week 2, or do you think they're going to ease in because they got Justin Fields as the backup quarterback as an insurance policy? Because, I mean, coming back from the ACL, it looks like he'll be back, but, it's going to be interesting.
He'll be back.
That's my thinking.
He'll be
Quick
back.
recovery.
He'll be back.
He's got that, mentality.
Yeah,
that,
he'll be back. And they realize, they can't with that division with the Chargers out there and
And the Broncos.
the Broncos that you can't give up a couple games.
2 games
early.
there, yes.
Yeah, and I if Mahomes can be back, he'll be back, and I fully expect him to be back. I mean, he's the franchise. They're paying him to win games, and he'll do it.
And you talk about Kenneth Walker being in that backfield because you look at, Pacheco, he really kind of regressed the last couple of years. I know with injury, they had Kareem Hunt as well, but having Walker there, that really kind of opens up the offense, especially, who knows if this is the last year with Kelsey, and you have other wide receivers then too. So I kind of like that dynamic with Walker, kind of
Yeah.
change of pace there.
Pacheco was never more than a complimentary back. He wasn't elite. Kenneth Walker is elite.
Yes.
You can build the game plan and you give the ball to Kenneth Walker 25 times to win the game. I go back to that Hank Stram book. The year the Raiders went 13-1, they lost to the Chiefs. And Stram realized their cornerbacks are great cover guys, but not very good in run support. Stram threw the ball 3 times in the game, ran 64 times for 250 yards, and they won going away. You can still win in this league by running the football. And I think we're going to see the pendulum kind of swinging back a little bit to the running backs. It's still going to be the quarterbacks, the face of franchises.
Yes.
But I think you're going to see more and more running backs emerge. It started when the Niners acquired McCaffrey and said, something? This is a vital piece. And I think more and more teams now are going to try to get that running back to take the pressure off the quarterback.
And
When James Cook came in with Buffalo,
Yes.
that made Josh Allen a better quarterback. If you got
Saquon
that
Barkley,
running thing.
with
yeah,
the Eagles.
Saquon Barkley, exactly.
And we're seeing so many teams having that dual threat running back where, we're talking about Kenneth Walker where he wasn't getting the whole workload then too. So you're kind of had that share load there where fresh legs in the fourth quarter and such there. So, that bell cow is kind of starting to, go away a little bit there. But you still have teams that, kind of.
You're not going to see Kenneth Walker carrying the ball 30 times in a game. If he gets 20 carries in a game, that's going to be a lot in that offense with Patrick Mahomes. But I can see him getting 15, 18, 20 carries, and if the defense is playing pass, he's going to run for 100 yards and on 17, 18 carries. There are going to be openings there. I remember when I was covering the Chiefs, I was talking to Marty Schottenheimer when Detroit went to the run and shoot, and he said, Barry Sanders is going to run for 2,000 yards. They're going to spread that field out. He's going to have all kinds of daylight. And, in fact, he did run for 200 yards. But now you're seeing defenses playing with linebackers and extra defensive backs and the two linebackers. You are inviting teams to run the football. Most teams aren't doing it. I think Andy Reid is smart enough. If you're going to let us run it with Patrick Mahomes, we're going to run the ball a little bit.
Excellent. Hey, let me acknowledge our banner sponsors before I forget. Banner sponsors help each month bringing the programming that all you viewers enjoy. They include Adams County Community Foundation, Adams County Chapter of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, Adams County Trout Unlimited, Classic Antique Innovations, Destination Gettysburg, Exchange Club of Hanover, Gettysburg Railway. We're happy to have a distinguished member of our studio audiences here. Tinsley's here from Destination Gettysburg. Corey
Yeah.
still there as well. So thank you to everyone at Destination Gettysburg and all of our other banner sponsors. Well, let's talk about Hot Seat and Shining Star, because I know you probably have something.
I'll let
Corey.
you take the
All right, okay.
keys and run.
All right, I'm just going to go Hot Seat, Carl Schwarber, just because he got tossed last night. It's a modest rebuke. And Shining Star, some guy from the Royals went 5 for 5 yesterday. Tolbert,
Yes.
I don't know his first name, it doesn't matter, but he gets our Shining Star Award. What do you got?
I'm going to go with the shortstop with the Cubs, Dansby Swanson.
Shining Star?
Shining Star. It's been an up and down, time frame there with
The
Swanson.
Cubs,
You know,
but for the
yeah.
Cubs too, I mean, they've been streaky as all get out.
They win, 23-3, and then the next day they lose 17-1. So it's just this ebb and flow. But I was going to have him in the Shining Star last week. He had 7 RBIs, and then he went 0 for 17. So I was like, that's. But then last Wednesday, he had 3 home runs, driving in 8 RBIs, and he became the 5th player to have 26 RBIs in a 10-game span. So.
Wow.
That's, once I saw that nugget there, then I'm like, I'll put him in the Shining Star there.
Yeah, that's
So,
like 2.6 per game.
Yes.
My math is correct.
And then my hot seat, I'm going with the World Cup with Senegal. They had a 2-0 lead with on the 83rd minute. That was when they gave up the lead to, they played,
Argentina?
no, it was who USA played last night. It was
Belgium.
Belgium.
Oh, okay.
And, Belgium scored on the 86th minute and 89th minute to force extra time. And then, Belgium, scored with 5 minutes, with extra time with a penalty kick there. So I put Senegal there just because you have a 2-0 lead with late in the
Yeah.
game there. You got to,
Well, I guess when
And-
France is the favorite, I mean, who's the most surprising team left in the World Cup field? Belgium?
I
I
mean,
mean, who would you put the whole team on the hot seat, the U.S. men's team?
the goalie kind of gave up a couple, I wouldn't say easy goals, but where you're like, 15 yards away from the net, where you could easily take the ball there. So that was
Yeah, I don't know, the coach wasn't too happy. I saw him
No.
kicking something at one point.
kicking the bottles there. So
Put the Egypt coach on the hot seat, too.
absolutely,
Same thing
yes.
today. They're
Who, a
80,
2-0 lead?
80 minutes in, you're up 2 goals, and you give up 3 in the next 11 minutes, including extra
Yeah.
time to lose a game.
I know Argentina is one of the favorites to win it, but hey, you gotta, buckle down and play a little defense there. But I'm not the biggest hockey or the soccer person there, but once I saw that there, I had to put that in the hot seat there.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Have the Mets been on the hot seat all season?
we've
Pretty
been putting them.
much.
Yeah, they've been
Highest payroll in baseball. They're almost 20 games under 500?
Yep.
Not good.
Didn't they win that series down in Atlanta? I think they won 2 out of 3. But, I mean, they got a long way to go if you're a Mets fan. Soto was out. I mean, they've had a ton of injuries, but you look at their lineup, their names, except for Soto, who else do you even really know anything about? So, yeah, you're right. They were very disappointing.
Okay, here's my shining star, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
Okay.
They got the 7th lowest payroll in baseball, 8th lowest payroll in baseball, and they're leading the American League East. 2 games better than the Yankees, and their payroll is $200 million less than the Yankees.
And then right now, they're playing a 4-game series in Tampa, so that's, you know,
And they are a fun team to watch. I don't know if you guys have seen them play. They are a fun team to
And
watch.
they have this tradition of being overperforming and underfinanced.
Every year.
But, there's kind of a Ray way, if you will. I mean,
Well, you look at what they're doing, they're always low in payroll, but they're always competing for playoff spots. It's like in hockey this year, Carolina had one of the lowest payrolls, and they won the whole Stanley Cup. It's about putting together a team,
chemistry.
not buying a bunch of superstars, putting together a team where everybody fits and everybody has roles. And Tampa is a great example of that. The Oakland A's, were kind of the godfather of that concept, winning with a low payroll. But Tampa is that team now.
it's going to be interesting to see how the Rays can hold on. They had a 9-game winning streak, and that was the same time when the Yankees kind of went on their tailspin there. So that's how they were able to, catch some ground there with the Yankees there.
They
So,
lost, at least 5 in a row with the Yankees.
so this is, we could go to the All-Star break and they're both knotted up going, to the second half there, or it could be, a 5 or 6 game cushion that the Rays will have. The funny thing is, when you look at the All-Star break itself there, we're almost approaching 100 games played. So it's not really the halfway mark itself there.
Never has been.
Once we start, it'll probably be about like 60 or so games left of the season there. So it's really the dash to the finish there, so.
Well, let's talk NBA a little briefly. Jaylen Brown, and Sixers fans got to be excited about that move. Any comment?
I was definitely surprised when I saw that trade.
Yeah.
What Boston gave up and what they got in return with an aging Paul George, 36 years old, dealing with injuries.
Missed 25 games for an illegal substance. Supplement, I guess, is a better way to put it.
So seeing that there, and then having Brown being with Philadelphia, I think that's a great move for Philadelphia. I think they're going to be a contending team in the East and see where
I mean,
where they
especially
go.
if Joel can stay healthy, that's always a key question for them. All right, let's go back to baseball.
Well, let me comment on
Okay.
basketball. It's hard being a basketball fan in Dallas. In the last 2 years, they've watched Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic leave the building. And before that, Steve Nash
The
was
Cooper
got
flag.
Thanks. He's a good player, and he's a franchise player, but you could have kept both these guys.
I know that, especially we had
You
the
want- you-
GM on the hot seat when they made that trade,
yeah.
for
He's
sure.
gone.
Yeah.
But you had a team that played in the championship finals, and then you trade the best player off that team for
For AD.
a first-round draft pick, which is going to be late with the Lakers, and an injury-prone. I think Davis played a total like 26 games for him.
Yeah.
And they had to get
Kyrie
one-
Irving, I mean, yeah, he's been hurt too.
Yeah, it's not
Will he
fun
play
watching
another
them.
game for the Mavs? Irving?
Hard to say.
You can call him a Dookie, but I think he played 11 games for Duke or something
Yeah.
like that.
Not many.
No. But he's
They're
got,
they're rebuilding, and
Yeah.
he's not a guy you want to rebuild with.
right. All right, so baseball, All-Star snubs, we really didn't talk about anything that stands out. I talked about Zach Wheeler, 8-1, 2.0 ERA, great recovery from thoracic outlet syndrome, et cetera. But any other snubs that come to mind?
I think for the American League, I say Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray is 10-1 with an ERA of 2.61.
Yeah.
You look at that and just his numbers itself. Usually, if you have an ERA of under 2.75, you're a shoe-in. I think at the end of
You're under 3, you're pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah. I think at the end of the day, he'll probably be in just by the starters that will be pitching on Sunday, and then
Right.
some of the guys that don't want to participate. So I think he'll get in. But just seeing this right now, that was a surprise for me. Was Sonny Gray.
That's a great pick, and I've known this guy and of him for many, many years, but I never saw him until this season. He kind of puts his hat on a little sideways. Maybe that hurt him in the voting, I don't know, but he's tough. High strikeout total. Anybody, Rick, that you can think of that should be an All-Star who's not?
I follow 3 teams.
Okay.
Detroit, my hometown, the Royals, who I cover, and the Rangers where I live right now,
Yeah.
all three teams stink. It's not,
Do they still have to
I'm
name
on,
an all-star
I'm on
from
the
every
football. I'm on
Yep.
the training camp, can't start
Yeah, okay.
soon enough for me.
team? Okay.
I
Well,
think,
yeah.
they you're supposed to have one in each team,
One
right?
represent,
Still.
because, I mean, the game doesn't matter. There's no home field advantage for the winning team and all that there,
This
so.
time it counts, we remember that. That was
Back in
for what,
2002,
10 years
yeah.
or something? Fox-
2002 to about 2012 or something
I mean,
like that,
It
yeah.
was winning the home field advantage in the World Series is a pretty big chip. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, but.
I think the other one that was a snub, which I think as well will be on the roster, is the starting pitcher for the Pirates. I go with Braxton Ashcraft. You know, his numbers compared to his teammate, Paul Skeens, is a lot better. Skeens has lost his last 9, you know, with the Pirates playing wise, they have lost. So seeing that,
9 games that he started, he
9
didn't necessarily
games.
get the loss in every game, but.
you know, a couple no decisions and all that there. So I was kind of surprised, you know, Ashcraft didn't get in, but I think at the end of the day, he will get in as a, you know, fill in the rosters and all
Yeah,
that there.
right.
So, I think I said this last week when I called in was the fan vote. I think it's a little too much sometimes because you have Vladimir Guerrero that won the fan vote, but he's not going to participate in anything with the, you know, either home run derby or All-Star game itself. I kind of feel like it should be a percentage. You know, the fan vote is this certain percentage of, you know,
It's
player
just raw
voters.
voting, I mean, you can vote 5 times a day.
But if you win the, you know, your position, you're the starter. So I just feel like it's just, you know, too much for the fans, you know, with that there. You know, I mean, for basketball, it's just a percentage with the, you know.
And nobody goes more than an inning now. Starters used to go 3 innings, I remember that. And we probably remember when there were 2 All-Star games in a year. What was that, like
61,
62?
62, 63, yeah.
Okay,
That's when it mattered. That's when the games mattered.
yeah,
They played to win.
yeah. Let's just go around the divisions, let's start out west for a change. AL West, who's number 1 right now? The Mariners were, Astros coming on.
Yeah, so right now, the standings is, Seattle is up by a game and a half with the Rangers. Seattle is 47-44. Texas is right at the 500 mark at
They don't
45-45.
You
Game and
haven't
a half
watched-
back to Seattle. And
You've
then,
watched good baseball.
No,
and then the rest of the division is below 500, you know, with the Astros playing a little bit better of late, but still they're 5-5 in their last 10 games, 45-48. 3 games back from the division and a game and a half back from the third wild card spot there. So
you mentioned the A's,
the A's have really fell off.
they faded, we had them as, I think you had them
A
as a
sneaky
possible
team
playoff
as a
Could still happen, but-
contending wild card team, but I think they're a very young team, but I think they're kind of,
I think Rooker's hurt too,
he's done for the season there.
that's hurt.
So, you know, the Athletics are 41-49. They were flirting with, you know, above 500, but, you know, they're 3-7 in their last 10 games on a 3-game losing streak. And then to close it out with the Angels, 36-55. They're going to
Is
be,
Trout gonna be traded?
well, he's on the IL, and I think
I've heard Yankees, or you always hear Phillies, people have fantasized about getting Mike Trout, because lives 40 miles from Philadelphia.
I mean, he could get traded, but I think that the hourglass is slowing, you know,
Because of
fading
his
and fading and
injury
fading.
history and his high payroll amount.
He's, you know, 34
Age.
and, you know,
Yeah.
the age and all that there, and the
He's a
contract itself
generational
there,
player,
so.
though. Definitely first ballot Hall of Famer, don't you think?
I say so. And it's going to be interesting to see if he can get 400 home runs because, you know, he's,
Ohtani's almost at 300, I saw. That's unbelievable.
well, the thing is
He is
with,
unbelievable.
Yeah, he is, really. He's not generational. He's all-world, all-time.
Yeah.
So nobody can do the things he's done. The Central, looked like the Guardians were gonna pull away, and now it's a scramble again. And you don't like the Royals. They did win the series against the Phillies, but they haven't hit too much overall.
See, the White Sox are leading right now, right?
yeah, the White Sox are 47-42. I think it's going to be a two-team race all the way through. I think it's going to be White Sox, Guardians. you know,
How far back are the Guardians?
Just keep an eye on Detroit.
one game back there is the Guardians, and I think Detroit is the very.
They're the
It's
hottest
going to
team
be
in June.
interesting, and them and the Marlins then too,
Yeah, the Marlins are like, what, a game behind the Phillies or something?
or something. Yeah.
they're
The
a super
Tigers, I think, hold all the chips right now of what happens in the month of July, because if they fall a little bit there, they got some trade chips that we'll talk about in a bit there, but they're not that far. And it's a winnable division then too. I mean, you see how most of the teams are in the American League. The Tigers, if they start playing some good baseball,
They're getting healthy. Their
Yeah, and
pitching is
that's
getting
the-
healthy,
that's the
and
thing,
they've
yeah.
got
And
great
they were
pitching.
buried for,
Their
they got a
pitching.
terrible start.
Yeah, their pitching was out,
And Skubal was out, so he's back, right?
and Verlander was out, and Jackson Jobe was out. I mean, 3 of the 5 guys were missing. And now they're back, or close to being back with Jobe. I wouldn't rule the Tigers out.
I would say-
They set a franchise record for home runs in June.
I would say the Twins, I don't believe in the Twins. I can see them being sellers, even, with them being 6-4 in their last 10 there. Tigers, I do agree. It's just, how can they get closer to that 500?
Yeah, you got a lot of teams ahead of you, but the wild card is such a
Well,
wild.
7.5 back.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the key. It's the game's behind.
And then the AL East, you got the best record in baseball right now with, in the American League, I should
Right.
say, with the Rays 52-36, 3-game lead with the Yankees, which that could easily be 0,
When's Judge coming back? I don't know.
It's a while.
maybe middle of August. I mean, that's when they're going to, reexamine and see where he's at with the rib injury. But I don't know. It's one of those injuries where you can't put a real timetable of, hey, you're going to be back at this time frame. So, and they've been 14-17 since his absence.
Yeah.
So, there's been that up and down with the Yankees, and that's the big.
Pretty much a two-team race, or can Toronto get
Toronto's
back in?
sitting in there.
Yeah.
Toronto's right there.
They're 11.5 games back. They're 42-49, same record as the Orioles, 42-49 as well. And the Red Sox, 12 games back. So you got 3
Sellers.
teams, in that double-digit range. The thing is with the Orioles, they, for the 7th time, they have failed to win 4 games in a row. They'll get, the string of wins in a row.
3.
3, but they just can't get over that hump there. They have, just a few sweeps there, but their longest losing streak of the season is 4. So it's just this ebb and flow there. I'm an O's fan, and just seeing how that is, it's just looking at the talent, they should be a lot better, but they're just, right in that 3rd place, 4th place range there. So, but
Guys, before we go, segue
Oh,
to
yeah,
the
yeah.
National League, I gotta go.
all right, yep.
Can you keep things going
Yeah, yeah,
for
we'll-
Sir.
another 15 minutes? Rick, thank you so much. Safe travels to you.
Thank you.
Corey, I'll
Thanks,
see
Ed.
you soon. Okay, thanks for tuning in, sports fans. Talk to you soon.
Do I get your pad?
Thanks, guys.
So, I mean, looking at the teams in the American League, it looks like there's going to be about what? At least, the Angels are going to be sellers, but I mean, what are they going to sell? The Twins, I don't believe in the Twins. The A's, they're a young team that feels like they are 2026, or I mean, 2027, 2028, so you're not going to trade. They're
looking to Las Vegas.
yes, that's yeah.
They want to be competitive when they go to Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Because they're going to have one of the largest fan base at that point. It's like the NFL discovered with the Raiders. Fans that travel, they go to one game a year on the road to see their team. They're all going to Las Vegas to
Yep.
see it, and it's going to be like that in baseball. And the NBA is going to go there. Hockey's seen that,
Hockey was the first one that,
Right.
kind of,
right?
opened up the gates, basically.
But the A's want to be up and running and a contending team the moment they walk into to Las Vegas.
And I think with, building the stadium and then building a, franchise course, when you
Right.
have, Nick Kurtz there as the cornerstone piece there at first base, and you have many others. I think what's holding them back is the pitching. They just don't have the right guys yet. They can go in the free agent market and kind of get that there, but I think that's what's kind of holding them back there a little bit there. And kind of just seeing that series that, last month when they were playing in Vegas, I think that was a little, I don't think we're going to see games like that all the time there, but, you might have a little high-scoring game like, at Coors maybe.
Yeah.
But that was interesting to see.
Pitching's like quarterback in football. You don't have that.
You're not
You're not.
going anywhere. What stands out to you the most in the National League? We're
Bad
seeing.
the Mets are with that payroll. There's only two teams in baseball with a $300 million payroll, the Dodgers and the Mets, and the Dodgers are on top, and the Mets are on the bottom. It's shocking that you can spend that much money on that poor results. But the Dodgers, that team's loaded.
Yeah. It's just, I think maybe their weak spot, I mean, if you want to call it a weak spot, is the bullpen, but it's not, awful. But if you're really kind of, nitpicking a little bit, maybe this, that, but it's,
That lineup, you shouldn't have that many one-run games.
and their run differential right now, looking at it, is plus 164.
Yeah, you're not going to.
It's,
If you're going to have a weak spot in that team, it might as well be the bullpen because
Yeah.
you've got everything else.
You're
Everything
gonna
else is in
slug people
place.
to death there.
And that's the team to beat. That's been the team to beat, and that will remain the team to beat. They've got the money, and they're not afraid to spend it.
And looking at where they're at right now, they have a 14-game cushion, which is just absurd
Ridiculous.
to say. Yeah, I mean, they're going to clinch their division by Labor Day, or even before we flip the calendar from August to September. Because looking at the other teams, I think the team that's the most disappointed is probably the Padres, because you look at their GM and how they structure their team and how they go head to head with the Dodgers. They're 2 games under 500, 44 and 46, and they, still 4.5 games back from the third wild card spot. But they just not have, hit the standards or expectations of, being in one of the top NL teams.
They are the horse that's chasing Secretariat.
Yes.
It's just far, far away. You can't. You're not going to get there, and it's disheartening.
Yeah.
They know they're not playing for the division. They're probably not playing for a wild card. It's just tough to compete with a team that has that much money, that has that much talent, and that much fan base. It's tough being in division with the Dodgers. For the longest time, it was tough being in division with the Yankees.
Yep.
But now, they're Tampa and Toronto showing you can do that in Boston. But the Dodgers,
They're
the
light
Dodgers-
years ahead of the
everybody.
other teams there.
those contracts, those contracts should have been outlawed. And that's why they have this ridiculous payroll and can get away with it.
Now, what do you think about this CBA? Because
I think it's going to be a
this-
strike.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think the owners realize you've got to have a salary cap. Every other sport has got some form of cap. And it's not good for 75% of the teams. If you're a Pirate fan, if you're a Twin fan, if you're a Royals fan, if you're a Rockies fan, if you're a
Marlins or whatever,
yeah,
the bottom.
you're
yeah.
not. How do you compete with the Dodgers spending $330 million and you're spending $102 million?
Yeah.
You can't do it. They've got to do something to make it more competitive. It's not good for the fans. It's great when the Yankees come in or the Dodgers come in, but too often the Rangers are playing the White Sox or the Reds, and the fans aren't going to come up for those games. If their team has no shot, they got to find a way to make it competitive. The only way to do that is salary cap. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole season's lost next year.
I think I think best case scenario is, we miss 2 months. I think, that would be the
Best
best.
case, best case.
The worst case, the whole season's
Whole
going like 94 season.
They've got to find, you can't, the luxury tax like the NBA, that's not going to fly. The Dodgers will pay that drop of a hat. You've got to find a way to make it where a San Diego can compete with a Los Angeles, where a Tampa Bay can compete on even terms with the
Yearly,
Yankees
yeah, not-
yearly. And that's not, and it's all about the money. And they've got to find a way to implement some kind of cap or limit on spending, because it's not good for 75% of the teams in baseball to know they have, coming out of spring training, they have no chance.
And it seems like every time we get more reports out from the PA or the owners, it is just so far apart from what could
I
end up
lived,
being.
I covered the full NFL for 5 decades. I've lived through 2 strikes. That same thing happened. They were so far apart, they're light years apart, and they were not going to reach an agreement. Finally, they gave in. In '94, they implemented the cap and gave them free agency. You know, baseball has free agency, but there's no cap.
Yeah.
If you had free agency with a cap, it
Different
could work.
story, yeah.
A different story. But if you're going to let the Dodgers, you know, in Detroit, again, I'm from Detroit, and everybody knows that they're not going to be able to resign Skubal.
Mm-hmm.
So trade Skubal. He's going to where? Dodgers,
Yankees.
potentially the Red Sox if they were competing.
yeah.
There are 4 or 5 teams that are going to get all the players. And if you're a Detroit fan, you're going to take the best pitcher in baseball and give him to a team that's already stacked.
Yep.
What does that say about your franchise?
And
you know,
then you just get prospects or, the hope that
The
these
hope. You're buying
6,
hope.
Prospects.
But you got the best pitcher in baseball who's still young enough to be that guy for the next 4 or 5 years, and they're not going to have him. What does that tell your fans?
Yeah.
You know, we can't afford to keep the best pitcher in baseball. That's what they're saying. And that's the problem with baseball.
We're going to have this basically same discussion in a couple years, 2, 3, with Paul Skeens. It's like, all right, the Pirates.
Same thing.
Yeah, until we get a new CBA and all that.
He's
there.
going to
Yeah,
go to the
it's-
Dodgers,
yeah.
the Yankees, and he's very young. You're going to get a guy in the prime of his career, again, for prospects.
Yep.
And that's not going to help the Pirates compete on an annual basis. It'll take you 3, 4 years if the prospects all hit.
Yep.
How often do the prospects all hit?
The only one that kind of hits that I can remember a trade is probably the Juan Soto trade. For what the Nats got in return now, with James Wood, C.J. Abrams, kind of playing. That's, you really have to find lightning in a bottle to kind of hit all those prospects and them making all-star games and all that there. So you're really, like what you're saying, hope. You're hoping that these prospects.
But the teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers, they'll give you prospects because they can go out and buy a lineup. Now, I'll take you back again from Detroit in '72. The Tigers traded to Atlanta for Dole Alexander because they wanted a guy to kind of get them over the hump and win the division. And Alexander came in and went 9-1, and they won the division and lost the A's in the playoffs. They traded one prospect, John Smoltz. They got 2 years out of Alexander, and the Braves got a Hall of Fame pitcher out of John Smoltz. I'm reluctant to trade prospects in all sports for that reason. If I trust my scouting department, and I have faith that these guys can find the players, I'm reluctant to give up draft picks or prospects, and that's what you have in baseball too often. But yeah, John Smoltz, that one hurt.
Especially, how he was, able to, kind of flourish as a closer and a starter and all that there.
That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. He did them both. He's a 200-game winner and 100 saves. That's much like Ohtani. That's something you're not going to see. Dennis Eckersley was like that and earlier in his career. But yeah, Skeens will not end his career with the Pirates. Skubal will not end his career in baseball, and that's bad for the sport.
Because, I think where the Tigers are at, come the ending of July, it's going to be how much can we get back with, our ace picture, if we trade them away. So
Unless they continue winning like they've been.
Yep.
Like I said, they've had I think they had best record in baseball in the American League in June.
and
They're,
how
they're back.
the American League is so, I'm not going to say bad, but it's just very,
You and I both know the White Sox are not going to run away with it.
No, they're
And that's
going
who
to
they're
stay-
chasing right now.
And I think if they can stride for like 85 wins, 80, 86, I think gives
90,
you the division. Yeah.
Yeah, between 85 and 90 will should win it. I mean, it's a winnable division.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where you're at right now, it's a winnable division. Now if they were 10 or 12 games back, I'd say no.
It's-
Or if
yeah.
they were chasing the
Yankees, yeah.
I'd say no. But it's a winnable division, and that is good for baseball. The fact that they have wild cards and
Mm-hmm.
more teams are involved in potential playoff spots.
I do like the fact that the wild card is not just a one-and-done game. It's a
That
three-game
was terrible.
series.
Wasn't that a concept? Terrible
Yeah.
concept. One, you play all season long to get to the playoffs, and you get one game. And a lot of times you don't, you haven't stacked rotation. You tried so hard at the last weekend to win the division or to win the wild card spot. You're
And
putting
you don't
out,
have your ace,
Right.
pitching in the wild card game
right.
there. So.
Yeah, that's only fair. But that said, I'm not a fan of the World Series being played in November.
Yes.
I'm a start in April, finish in October. But,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to keep pushing it back with these playoffs. It's money. It's TV programming. It's money.
Absolutely. Well, Rick, we're at the ending of our, sports chat show. Anything else you want to mention before we head out?
It's great to be on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I get here a couple times a year, and I appreciate the invitation.
I do appreciate the stories and all that there, and I just kind of take a back seat and just kind of listen to, 1960s and all that there. I just enjoy, even though I don't have much to, kind of say about it, I just enjoy the stories and all that there. So I do appreciate that
I
there.
appreciate that. Yeah, I've got a lot of stories.
Well, that'll wrap up another edition of Sports Chat. In about 15 minutes, we'll have trivia, and stay tuned, and we'll be back next week with Sports Chat. All right.
Jewelry, food, and so much more. This is Hanover's festival, so bring your family and friends and enjoy a fun-filled day together. For more information, you can visit snacktownstreetfair.com. Are you a fan of blueberries? Then you won't want to miss Halabaugh Brothers' 71st anniversary Blueberry Fest happening July 11th and 12th from noon until 4 p.m. both days. The festival features live music by Austin Rife, wagon rides, blueberry ice cream, a personal favorite, milkshakes, plenty of blueberry product samples, and of course, their famous blueberry sundaes and pie a la mode. Be sure to browse the local artisan vendors while you're there. Kids can enjoy blueberry-themed crafts, a scavenger hunt, yard games, and even pick their own blueberries. And come hungry. Dougie's Barbecue, Travelin' Tom's, and Brickler's food trucks will all be on site, making it a delicious afternoon of family fun.